Hello, everybody, and welcome to Watching the News. I am the world-renowned historian for the channel The Reactor Corps, and let's go ahead and watch some 45-year-old news broadcasts. That sounds like a good use of our time, does it not? And I believe I have a special one for us today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited to share this with you. We are going to watch WABC Eyewitness News, the 8th of October, 1980. So a little context for WABC. They are primarily a New York show, but they do also do some world news. But as far as their locality, they're New York. So you'll see a lot of New York reporting, though also quite a lot of international reporting as well. Remember, this is a pre-internet era in which this is the world where this is how people got their information about what was happening all around the world. That in newspapers, and certainly not everyone found the time to read newspapers every day. So this is a very important source of information for people way back then. And the star of this program is a man by the name of Roger Grimsby. What do I want to say about Roger Grimsby? First of all, I want to show you what he looks like. There he is. There he is in all his glory. Roger Grimsby, man. So I've watched a couple of his broadcasts now, and it strikes me that at some point they decided that a newsman should be warm and inviting and likable, and Roger Grimsby doesn't really come from that school of thought, though I find him very likable, personally. He seems to me to be one of those hard-drinking, hard-smoking, hard-living, hard-boiled, ink-stained wretch journalist types from the 20th century. Just a hard, tough guy. If it bleeds, it leads. Give me the scoop. That kind of guy. We'll see that a lot more as we go on. His delivery is very monotone. Very. I'm just going to tell you what happened. Here's what happened. This is what I'm going to tell you right now. This is what I'm saying. So it's all going to be in like that tone. But then he's also quite funny. Like, he'll sneak in a little joke here and there. But, like, because of his delivery, you sort of have to be paying attention to catch it. It's a dynamic I like quite a lot. Just as an example, in one of the broadcasts I was watching, he was reporting about free contraceptives being given to a sex education class in, like, New Jersey or something. And that's another thing. They always find some reason to sneak in, like, sex news. And just spoiler alert, we'll find that... I scrubbed ahead a little in the timeline, and there's a little bit of that reporting in this broadcast as well, but they always find some reason to sneak in some kind of sex news. But anyway, the joke in question was that he was reporting on a sex education class in New Jersey, given free contraceptives, and he just snuck in right there into his usual delivery. I bet it wasn't even on his teleprompter. He goes, they're being given free condoms. I guess it's a laboratory class, which is goddamn hilarious. You don't know, a laboratory class is very hands-on, like a lab in life sciences when you're dissecting the pig embryo or the frog or whatever it is. So yeah, he's making a joke about the sex education class being very hands-on, as it were. Not to over-explain everything, but it's really quite funny. He was a legendary newsman in New York in the 70s, and the first half of the 80s. He was fired in 1986. Ostensibly because of budget cuts, I think is what they said. But I also read that his arguments with his news director were quote-unquote legendary. As soon as you see him in action, you will be able to envision this as well as I can. I just picture this newsroom of the 1970s and the very early 80s, just billows of cigarette smoke. There's an ashtray on every desk. Everyone's got a fifth of whatever brown liquor in their bottom cabinet. And, Roger gets into the office and his news director throws open the door. Grimsby! His New York voice. Grimsby! Get in here! Roger's sort of the titan of the newsroom, and he stomps across the newsroom, the floor of the newsroom. Everyone's, oh God, it's happening again. There's an intern in the corner having flashbacks to their parents arguing, oh, it's happening again, oh no. Roger, who's just the most commanding presence in the newsroom, just stomps across the room, slams the news director's door behind him. News director, Grimsby, you keep these jokes out of your news broadcast, you hear me? And Grimsby's going, I'm the talent here, buckaroo. You read it yourself if you don't like how I do it. everyone outside can just hear every word, even though the door's closed and the blinds are shut. We cut to outside the building. Even though they're on the 10th floor, you can hear, wah, 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 wah. Grimsby just wins the maybe he wins the argument. They both walk away feeling like they won, and maybe Roger behaves for a broadcast, but by the end of the week, he's just throwing in his jokes again. And, that ends up eventually getting him fired by his news director. And I'm sure he wasn't really all that upset, but a true story about when they fired him in 1986. Not only was he fired, but Roger, as you'll see, is the kind of guy who, gets off work and is at his favorite bar having cocktails 5 minutes later. But Roger's 3 favorite bars were in the building directly across the street from the studio where he worked. All 3 bars were in the ground floor of the same building. After he was fired, WABC bought that building and evicted, that's the word I'm looking for, evicted all 3 of Roger's favorite bars when he was fired. So that's as big an FU, as big a passive-aggressive FU as I've ever heard before in my life. But he was a wonderful newsman at the time, and I look forward to this 25 minutes and 10 seconds broadcast from the 8th of October, 1980. Let's go ahead and jump in. And I'm sure he'll have some good laugh lines in there. And we will see where this goes. Let's go ahead and get started.
Nothing wrong with your clock. Tonight we begin late. New Yorkers saved from that burning...
It's exactly what I'm talking about. Nothing wrong with your clock. Tonight we begin late.
...ship. They escaped from the deep blue sea to find the devil at home. We'll also have these eyewitness news.
Sounds serious.
This Jordache blimp took off for a publicity stunt today. It was up for about 2 minutes and then it crashed.
I'm John Slattery in Rockland County, where the prowl is on for food and water. Those doing the prowling are rats.
I'm Rats Sharp. Cannolis and coffee are part of Ted Kennedy's campaign day for Liz Holzman.
There's
so Ted Kennedy's campaigning for Liz Olsman, somebody named Liz Olsman. I guess this is October 8, 1980, which was about a month out from a presidential election that year, which Ronald Reagan smashed Jimmy Carter, the incumbent, I believe. But Teddy Kennedy was campaigning for somebody named Liz Olsman, which we'll hear about later. And here we have on the screen there the sex news that they always make sure to sneak in. So let's see what that's all about.
Tempest in a penthouse.
Wait, Play Guy? I remember there was a magazine for ladies named Play Girl. I don't remember anything called Play Guy. Maybe that was for the fellas. I don't know. But that's very weird. There's Playboy that had women in it, and there was Play Girl that had men in it. I don't know what Play Guy is.
House magazine, and it's all because the woman who was chosen Pet of the Year doesn't want to be a pet. It all has to do with publicity. I'm Tracy Egan, and I'll have that report.
I'm Bob Miller, and that's the over-the-seas wing walker landing in New Jersey. Details in just a moment.
Also tonight, a gas leak stops cars and trains in New Jersey. 400 hospital workers go on strike. The 69-cent stores become the 88-cent stores, and Bruce King with highlights of the...
The 69-cent stores become the 88-cent stores. I don't know. Recently, there's been a thing where, like, at the dollar stores, like at the Dollar Tree or at any of the other number of dollar stores, everything's now $1.25 or whatever, and that's caused some great, economic anxiety in this day and age. Whereas back then, it was the 69-cent stores becoming the 88-cent stores, and then there was probably a huge outcry of anxiety when the 88-cent stores became the dollar stores. Yeah, and so it goes, everybody.
Yankees championship game. In a moment on Eyewitness News.
WABC TV, New York.
Good evening, I'm Roger Grimsby. Here now the news. They were forced from the burning deck of the luxury liner Prisendam. They spent 7 hours tossing about Glacier Bay in a lifeboat. They lost most of...
I like it when you can tell, like, the pauses in I like it when you can tell that his teleprompter is rolling up based on when he chooses to pause. He's true professional. Like, he hides it very well, but, we can tell in this cynical day and age where we know all this stuff.
Their possessions, but were glad to be back home. But as Vince Lipari is going to tell you, when Jack and Beatrice Wallen arrived at their home in Queens, they were in for a cruel surprise.
This was the worst trauma that I experienced during this whole thing.
And Beatrice Mallon is not talking about being rescued with her husband Jack, along with more than 500 other passengers aboard the burning luxury liner Prince and Dam. They arrived last night at the airport to meet relatives. When they got home, they had another problem to contend with: burglary.
Coming from the airport last night around 7:30, we saw a light open upstairs. We may have scared them off. And as I anticipated, as we walked into the house, we saw things not in their respective places, went upstairs, and we were in a shambles. It was one of the worst returns I've ever had coming back from a trip.
The burglars got in by breaking a basement window, a painful welcome for the couple that had been rescued by an oil tanker off the Alaskan coast.
I came home feeling wonderful.
That is a world-class run of shitty luck. So just in case you didn't catch that, they were on a cruise, things went awry, and the ship was burning for some reason. They got rescued, and they got home, and their house had been burglarized. I'd wonder who had it out for me if that happened to me.
Because people were wonderful, because everyone we met was wonderful, because the company treated us like people, like they cared about what happened to us.
What are your feelings now?
I don't ever change about people. I still love people. I don't know why this is...
I like Jack's face there. His wife's talking about how much she loves people, and Jack...
happening. I have no idea.
Jack Mallon is a magician. He was a performer on that burning luxury liner. He and his wife...
Plot twist, okay.
Lost between $15,000 to $20,000 in props, jewelry, and clothing. At home, they lost some more. Jack Mallon has worked with magic for some 50 years, but it seems that when burglars broke into his home last night, magic worked for him. The burglars took an assortment of bracelets and watches and other jewelry, but they didn't go for these...
Okay, so wait. This is great. So Jack was a performer on the cruise, and his wife was along with him. Cool that they got to do that she got to go along. But he got back and they stole all of his props, I guess. Maybe help him recoup some of what he lost from being burglarized by, having a little promotion here on TV. So I look forward to Jack's magic tricks here.
Bits of paper, or are they just bits of paper, Jack?
Well,
They're just
almost.
bits of paper?
Almost. In fact, to the burglar, this had absolutely no value whatsoever. He took a look at it and just cast it aside. But to the person that knows how, he merely does this. You just take a look. You don't want anything more. That's what they work for. That's what people rob homes for. He didn't have the magic touch.
Well, let me tell you something. It seems that Jack and Beatrice Mallon have the magic touch. Already there have been lots of people who want to help them. Jack says that some magicians have offered to give him some of their props so he can get his act together once again.
The magicians came together to help Jack. That's wonderful. I like Jack and Beatrice. I like his little trick there. This is what people rob homes for. He turns the paper into money. Oh, attaboy.
Thank you, Vince. A promotional stunt went haywire today. A blimp that was to be used to promote Jordache jeans crashed very shortly after it took off at Lakehurst, New Jersey. Bill Lewis went down to Lakehurst. He has a report on a pair of jeans.
Blimp! Awesome.
You see now.
This is what's left of a brand new $2.5 million blimp. It crashed
$2.5 million blimp
to advertise and publicize Jordache. The only one aboard, the pilot, unhurt.
When it first took off, they were having problems getting lift, getting altitude. And after about 2 minutes...
Next Halloween, I'm going as Lieutenant Tom McQuaid, by the way.
Or 3 minutes while they were up in the air, they were having rudder problems because it started, every time you applied power, it'd go into, a couple of spins.
The 170-foot helium-filled blimp found itself impaled in a tree. Less than a half-mile from, and minutes after, it took off at the Lakehurst Naval Air Station. This blimp, I'm told, was supposed to have been launched yesterday as a dry run, but a gust of wind reportedly hurled it to the ground, damaging its landing gear. The craft, which did not explode, had been covered with a $15,000 principally gold-colored paint job. It was heading for Teterboro Airport, where it was to be properly christened. with 5 comely gals removing their clothes before donning some latest Jordache apparel.
So I don't...
First of all, why does he talk like The Rock's impression of Triple H? 5 girls removing their clothes before putting on some of the latest Jordache apparel.
I don't believe there is anything mechanically wrong with it at all.
When did you check it out?
Early this morning and all day yesterday. That was part of my check. Everything was fine.
In July of last year, a Goodyear blimp was torn from its moorings by heavy winds in Iowa.
Sheesh.
Lots of damage, but nobody hurt. In 1937, the hydrogen-filled German Zeppelin Hindenburg...
Little more serious of an accident.
...was landed at Lakehurst at the end of a transatlantic commercial flight. Some 36 lives were lost.
A little more serious than the Jordache blimp going down.
Fortunately, today's accident did not end in tragedy.
Well, the pilot said that he no sooner got airborne, and he took off from here. And as he started getting over the tree line here, he started experiencing trouble, control problems. He started making about he must have made about a dozen turns. They got, increasingly tighter, and he started losing altitude.
It's not Jordache, but Airship Enterprises of New York, the owner of the blimp, which takes the financial beating stemming from the crash. As for the jeans maker, which gets all this free publicity, it emphasizes the important thing is this: nobody was killed or hurt. Roger?
I wonder if Milt Lewis is like 25 here. He looks like he could be weirdly young, unless that's like a bad dye job. I don't know, but what a weird character.
Well, Milton, it seems that the bent-over balloon proves that jeans were not made for blimps.
It took Roger a second to like come up with that joke. Like it was still forming in his head when they cut to him. Well, Milt, it just proves that, or the bent-over balloon proves that jeans are not made for blimps. It's not Roger's best work, but we'll take it.
Any problems, but he will stay in the race. D'Amato's other opponent, Liz Holtzman, is calling for a full investigation into the charges against D'Amato.
I bet she is.
The man who was called Dr. X in the Curare murder trials in New Jersey a couple of years ago is barred now from ever practicing medicine again in New Jersey. Dr. Mario Diskelovich was found innocent of those murders in the hospital, but he was found negligent by the New Jersey State Board of Medical Examiners. Today, that board voted unanimously to take Diskelovich's license away. He was not present at the hearing.
Italian
I have no idea what that's referring to. It sounds like some kind of like angel of death type situation where you see this sometimes, like a medical professional intentionally overdoses somebody to, as like a serial killer, like, oh, they died of natural causes. And like these people can be hard to catch sometimes because they're good at covering their tracks. But yeah, I haven't heard of that specific instance.
Sindona and 2 Staten Island men charged tonight with faking Sindona's kidnapping last year. Sindona was convicted in the largest U.S. bank fraud case in history. He claimed he was kidnapped and was missing for several months last year. Today's charges are the first in connection with that alleged kidnapping.
Coming up next on Eyewitness News, the pet of the month who refuses to be pet of the year. Did she turn down $300,000, or was it all just a...
You put that after the commercial break. That's good television.
Pent-up penthouse publicity stunt. We'll have that story, and we'll have more.
A pent-up penthouse publicity stunt. Attaboy, Bill.
In a moment when we continue.
Of course, they have Tracy on that story.
Drought continues in northern New Jersey, but the people in charge of the water rationing program there say it's working. Still, the drought has side effects beyond drying lawns and dirty cars. Rockland County has a problem with rats. Rats forced out of hiding to look for food. Now people there are looking for help. John Slattery.
I want that on a t-shirt. Rat problems.
The beautiful Lake DeForest here in Rockland County. People here say they can't remember when the water level was so low. The low water table not only represents a shortage of drinking water, it also represents a shortage of rainwater for crops, which means a shortage of food for animals. One of those animals is the rats. Officials say rats in drought-stricken areas are now doing what these New York City rats did last year when they boldly came out of hiding from Central Park looking for food near the horse-drawn carriages. Officials in Rockland and Bergen counties say the suburban rat is doing the same. He's now taken to the road looking for food.
And he will go most any distance. They say they've been known to go a mile just to...
Dr. Daniel Hyman is my hero. Look at this guy. My God, they just don't make him like they used to.
Look for food, and if he doesn't have food, they'll keep going to where food is present.
And all that traveling has brought some countrified rats to the outpost of civilization, the shopping center, and the delectable commercial dumpsters that stand out back.
Delectable.
If you come out during the day, sometimes you'll see them 10, 12 rats conglomerated, and all of a sudden when they see something...
Conglomerated.
Even during the day, you see.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So today we went out with Rockland County's Director of Rat Control, who pointed out where the rats have set up housekeeping. Right along the edge of the parking lot, where they mat down grass for so-called runs between the dozen or so holes. Yet it's not just happening here.
We have over 50 major shopping areas, and everyone has...
Reminds me of the mayor in Jaws. Owen Dunnigan does.
Like this.
The rat holes are just a stone's throw from the dumpsters, which health officials say were unusually spruced up today, yet all of them were standing open. Are you able to seal them to keep them closed so that animals can't get in?
I don't think an animal can get into my dumpster. It's about 5 foot high.
A rat can get into anything.
We can if we have to.
Yeah.
We'll conceal them, absolutely.
A rat can easily climb up there, Stephen Kunis. I'm sorry.
They're open right now.
We'll seal them if we have to.
The rats are not reported inside any of the stores, but officials fear that could be next because the rats are moving closer to buildings, but not just for food, also for warmth now that it's getting cooler. So rats are becoming problems around homes that have never seen rats before. Officials warn against leaving anything edible outside this time of year, dog food, cat food, even bird seed. And by all means, they urge put garbage only in tightly sealed cans. Roger?
Doctors and nurses at Baptist Medical Center in Brooklyn trying to cope with a strike. 400 service personnel, including the cooks, people in the linen rooms, the therapists, have walked off their jobs. Bob Latham.
Roger, it's not a lifeline, but a picket line outside Baptist Medical Center here on Linden Boulevard in East New York. All of it caused by a cash flow problem. Has left 420 hospital workers outside Baptist Medical Center in Brooklyn for 3 days. The hospital is awaiting state and Blue Cross payments of more than $1 million and asked its service employees to take a temporary cut to 4-day, 28-hour work weeks.
And on Monday morning, we told them that we were willing to work 5 days that it calls under the contract. They say they will not do it, therefore they're calling the police and they escort us out. So we are officially locked out.
We have not locked them out. Any person who wants to come back to work is totally welcome.
Good direction there.
To immediately
Roger
come
Grimsby's
back to
news
work.
director.
One at a time or 400 at a time?
400 of them.
Byram calls it an illegal...
I feel like you don't see this kind of stuff that much anymore. I don't know. Maybe people still strike. I don't ever see it personally in my life. Just maybe a kind of a small insular existence. But you don't see people like walking around outside a building wearing sandwich boards, like chanting things. This is very much an artifact of like an earlier time, I feel.
Strike. 144 says it's a lockout. The pickets have blocked deliveries and broken a window or two. There is passion among the people.
If they don't have the money to pay us 5 days pay what our legal contract calls for, how can they hire outside help to work inside there and pay them? They don't get IOUs, they get paid just like we do.
Good question.
How are the patients making out without you?
Well, they're being taken care of, too. You know, we are humanitarian.
That's a little bit like guilting the strikers. I don't like that question. How, is your strike causing, this horrible strife for the patients? That's a little, I don't know, a little rich. Nellie Galecki's about to put him in his place. She says they're being taken care of and so forth. Let's hear what she has to say.
But we're fighting for our rights.
Inside the hospital, the rule is carry on as RNs, LPNs, administrators, and other non-union personnel take up the slack in many different ways.
I am now working in the kitchen, cooking, doing the cleanup, coffee, whatever.
A little housekeeping, a little garbage emptying, a little cleaning up the sidewalks, delivering linen.
So these are all people who are like bosses, so therefore they're not union, I suppose. Oh gosh, I usually work in an office and just do push papers around, and now I have to go do actual work. I guess you got to include that in the story. That's part of the story, to be fair.
Stalemate continues. The 400-plus members of the Service Workers Local 144 are still outside. Those people who are carrying on inside are working full-time now. And where she ends, no one knows. I'm Bob Late, reporting live from outside Baptist Medical Center in Brooklyn. Now back to the studio.
I've been told that the woman selected as Penthouse Pet of the Year this year turned it down because she thought the magazine was trashy. Well, that wasn't enough publicity.
I love old Roger so much. Look at his posture, first of all. I've been told that the woman selected as Penthouse Pet of the Year. Yeah, you already knew that, Roger. Nobody had to tell you that. You already knew. Anyway, carry on.
Publicity, so now she's suing the magazine for $4 million. This may not be true, but then it may. We'll find out from Tracy Egan.
Well, Roger, Isabel Lanza is the pet who said...
First of all, why is Tracy Egan on this story? Is it because she's a lady? Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure Tracy felt very respected in the newsroom. Felt just like one of the boys.
No to a contest title and thousands of dollars in prizes. She's saying yes to something that could be more valuable, publicity. Both the Italian Model and Penthouse magazine deny that last week's title turndown was a publicity stunt. Still, both are showered by exposure. This report, no exception.
I cannot accept to be Pet of the Year.
Isabel Lanza stunned the magazine when she purred her title rejection. But the three-time pet model can't have been surprised she'd won. After all, readers had voted her into a four-way pet-off months ago. And Penthouse informed her before the ceremony that she would be Pet of the Year. Guccione growled, publicity foul.
We know that it was Bob Guccione, first of all, is like a world-class, so-and-so and something or other. He's a very famous, sort of a contemporary of Larry Flint, I suppose. Maybe a more famous name in that line of work. I just think it's incredibly telling of the time that, of course, it was Tracy Egan reporting on this story. It wasn't Gil. It wasn't Bob earlier who was reporting on the strike. Of course, they gave this one to Tracy, who maybe, I don't know if this is what she envisioned coming out of journalism school, but...
It was decided well in advance. The whole thing was choreographed. With other people.
I'm the first thing in my life, and everything else comes second. So that's why I gave it up.
If she's first, publicity is certainly running a close second. Publicity, she insists, which seeks her out. We asked publicity celebrity expert Earl Wilson if the title rejection strikes him as a publicity stunt.
Well, I'm not sure of that, but she's very good at getting publicity once the thing is broken in the papers, because the fact that she's called me three different times, and I know
this is the Perez Hilton of the 1980s, the TMZ of the 1980s. This guy
communicated with the other columnists also, so she's after publicity, and she's doing a good job of getting it.
Lanza, whom the magazine calls Ardijo, says Penthouse is
kind of looks like
guilty
Jane
of a
Seymour.
$300,000 publicity trick. $300,000 in prizes, she claims, are mostly rentals.
The exact retail value of all those gifts.
How did Al Pacino never play Bob Guccione in a movie, by the way? The way Woody Harrelson played Larry Flint. He's got a great voice, too. Should have been a voice actor if he wasn't a smut peddler.
Exceeds $300,000.
Guccione says Lanza wanted cash instead of prizes. His pets told Good Morning New York that Lanza traded the title for publicity.
The magazine she's associated herself with now is the real trashy and corrupting literature.
Which magazine is that?
I believe it. It's the National Enquirer.
Both the Enquirer and Miss Lanza say that isn't true either.
Oh, okay. So Guccione sent the other pets on TV to trash this one that didn't want to be associated with Penthouse anymore. That's a good tactic.
True is that Penthouse is also reaping tremendous publicity. But publicity apparently doesn't soothe the publisher.
I like this. Little sip of Tab. I wish I had a Tab here. I don't think they make Tab anymore. I have this Cherry Coke Zero I'll have a sip of in Bob Guccione's honor here.
Feelings.
When I think that I've been cheated or taken advantage of, my feelings are hurt. Yes.
When I think I've been cheated or taken advantage of, my feelings are hurt.
He's like the king in his own world. When somebody,
Yeah, no shit, lady.
One of his girls turns it down, I mean, I'm sure it does hurt him somehow.
Well, somehow is more than hurt. He's angry. He promises a countersuit and criminal charges of extortion against Miss Lanza. She thinks she'll get some money out of her lawsuit against the magazine, and she's already got a nibble from a movie producer. If it wasn't a publicity stunt, it certainly worked like one. Bill?
Did someone laugh in the background? She's already got a nibble from a movie producer, and then somebody laughed. I don't know. I wonder how that turned out. I've never heard of Isabel Lanza. I hope she had a long and fruitful movie career.
In any event, Stormfield will be along in a moment with the
Look at Roger. They can't even contain themselves.
Possibly last transatlantic wing walk.
Oh, man.
We'll have those stories. We'll have more in a moment.
They were cackling when they cut
Stormfield on the
when they cut back to the newsmen. They were cackling at that penthouse pet story, because of course they were.
Weather.
Okay, is that me or the weather, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of the above.
Wait, his name's Stormfield? That's the weather guy's name is Stormfield. I don't know if that's an alias or what, but boy, you set your boy up to be a weatherman. You give him that name.
We did have nice weather today. It is going to continue for a while, but it is, as Bill said, become a little bit more on that chilly side as a result of a frontal system dropping down right now from Canada. And outside, you can note some of the changes. We're at 66 degrees Fahrenheit, and the humidity is comfortable. Barometric pressure also holding in there at 29.81. And the winds right now shifting around from a southwesterly direction. They'll be moving more northwesterly as the day goes along, as we move into evening and overnight, 12 miles per hour. Our high today, as expected, we did get to that 70-degree mark, 52 so far the low, although we might drop a little bit cooler than that tonight. The record normal high for this date, 70 for high, 53 for low, so overall a normal day for us in this part of October. 86, the record high, 1931. Air quality today fine, and tomorrow also should be good. The one amazing thing about today's weather is that there really
look at the production value.
California.
Attaboy.
Clear skies extending from the
I wonder if he just had a green screen back there and just showed the new screen. I don't know. Or I don't know. That was neat. I don't because you could hear it rolling on wheels. I don't know exactly how they did that. That was pretty cool.
Pacific right on through towards the Atlantic. Mild weather they had been having up in the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures in the 80s and 90s in that region now have changed quite dramatically, now down to 60 degrees up in Seattle as a cold front drops through that area. But most clouds and showers associated with these frontal systems stayed up in Canada. You did have a few clouds across the Great Lakes, but for the most part, it was a gorgeous day over most of the country. Take a look at the midsection of the country where they had Indian summer.
Although, I wouldn't be surprised if that's just like right behind Stormfield, like literally that. Like they had a map of the states and they put big numbers on it. They put warm and the word mild in certain places. And put sort of the elements all over the map. I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually just like a set behind him. I don't know. I honestly can't tell.
The Yankees not enjoying the weather out there in Kansas, but still beautiful out there. Temperatures in the 80s, and in some places getting to 90-degree weather. Mild temperatures along the East Coast, except for the Northeast. And as that cold air moves in, things are going to chill up just a little bit.
Yeah, he poked the map there, so I think that's actually just a map with elements attached to it, like right behind him. Like that's what you could see in the studio if you were there. I like it.
More about that forecast, we'll look at the satellite picture when we come back right after this. Satellite picture today shows really nothing much to look at. There is a cold front, but you can hardly make it out except for a few clouds right up here in the northeast. For the most part, however, just see those clouds, absolutely clear from the east right on back towards the west.
Satellite technology was not quite what it is today.
This afternoon, and there's really nothing of interest to look at except some clouds up here in the north.
Nothing of interest to look at. Thanks, Storm.
The northern part of New York State. The rest of the country, beautiful weather, sunny and mild. Our forecast for the rest of tonight, it's going to be mostly cleared, partly cloudy. There's going to be some breeze moving in as that frontal system makes its way towards us. Expect temperatures to drop down into the low 50s. Then as tomorrow comes along, really nice day. Lots of sunshine, but cooler weather, dropping back down into that mid-60s range. So you have to dress a little bit more warmly tomorrow. It's going to be clear tomorrow night, And then moving into Friday, more of the same. Sunny weather, temperatures again in that low to mid-60s range as we move into the weekend. And the weekend at this point looks very, very nice. Bill?
Very nice.
Thank you, Storm. Eyewitness News Check now. Jack and Beatrice Mallon, survivors of the fire aboard the luxury liner the Prinsendamm, returned to their homes in Queens last night. When they got there, they found a cruel surprise.
Oh, to give you a little roundup of the stories you saw.
Nobody was injured today when a promotional blimp crashed shortly after takeoff from the Lakehurst Naval Station in New Jersey.
Nice, little bullet points, what you learned as you watched the broadcast. I like it.
Tonight, also on World News Tonight at 7, President Carter talks exclusively with Barbara Walters about a new approach to the presidential campaign. Roger?
He's a Czech, but he lives in West Germany. He now holds the record for crossing the Atlantic standing on top of an airplane. Bob Miller caught up with the man as he...
Of course, West Germany and East Germany was a thing before 1990 when the Soviet Union still existed. Just for you kiddos out there.
He flew around Manhattan.
Would you buy a used car from this man? Jaromir Wagner arrived in the skies over the metropolitan area about 2:30 this afternoon. He spent a total of more than 40 hours, up to 8 hours at a time, flying this way from his home in Gießen, West Germany. In addition to being a daredevil, Wagner sells used cars. Wagner also thinks it's a great stunt to jump out of a plane with skis and come shushing down the mountain. He's got several layers of heavily insulated clothing on, but even though he was thinking of giving up over Greenland and Iceland when the wind chill factor got down to about 70 below.
I might be crazy, but I feel like this is something that young people just aren't interested in anymore. They just don't want to do this stuff. Like, they're like parachuting into like stadiums and like the crazy, like standing on top of a plane. Like, that's all like a pre-internet, pre-TikTok era. Although that would be a very good TikTok video. That would do numbers, you Zoomers out there. Go stand up on top of a plane. Don't take this advice.
On the ground in New Jersey, a bottle of champagne was poured on him by a representative of the Islander airplane he rode on. Then, with the help of an interpreter, a brief interview. What's that on his face? Is that frostbite?
That is frostbite. Today I feel me very good, but yesterday and Greenland, Iceland, I am very tired. And
Yeah, I bet you were.
Next morning, okay.
I am inspired by feats such as Wagner's, and I've been tempted to try them myself. But like many of my plans, they just never get off the ground.
Now, it's my contention that I can do that with the plane in flight, but not with a wind chill factor of 70 below, of course. All I need is a little bit of urging. Anyone?
If your news is good news, I'm Roger Grimsby.
That was a good little joke by Bill. Does anybody want to urge me to go stand on top of a plane as I cross over Greenland and Iceland? Nobody did. Then I cut it off in the middle, but Roger's wonderful sign off. I hope your news is good news, is what he says. I'm Roger Grimsby.
Next on Channel 7 is ABC's World News Tonight. I'm Bill Butel. Thanks very much for being with us. Good luck to you.
Little chit chat as we go off the air. Yeah, great episode. That was a lot of fun. Love Roger. I didn't mention even Bill Butel yet, who was kind of his sidekick for kind of the majority of his run. Had kind of a tragic end to his life, Bill Butel. Not lung cancer or like liver failure as it was for a lot of these guys. He got like some crazy like body disease. I don't even remember what it's called, like Louis dysmorphia or something like that. I don't know. I'll have it for next time. But yeah, he died much younger than he ought to have. But anyway, yeah, that's a dark end to what was a very good episode of the news. Great television, nice little soundbite stories. I enjoyed the jokes and the humor throughout. You can see the on-screen personalities sort of sharing a wink and a nod sort of jokes in between, and just a great broadcast, absolutely. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Until next time, I am the world-renowned historian for the Reactor Corps. For watching the news, be good, kiddos. Peace out.